see the not well armed, but policemen in protective gear positioning themselves to prevent people from crossing over to where the table is, to create any unnecessary confusion. We'll keep quiet and listen to what is happening inside the conference room. Well, it looks like he has finished the announcement. We'll miss that, but obviously it will be related to preparing the people to get set. So EC officials are positioning themselves at the podium. The electoral, that's the returning officer, who is the leader of the EC officials, will make an official announcement and explain to us the process they want to adopt for the sorting and then the counting of the ballots. So at long last, let me see my time, it's about 11:16 or 11:17. The day has ended, but not over until we know the results. Wisdom.
Yes, so it's not over until we know the results. But for now, EC officials are still checking which of the ballot boxes will go where, because we have 16 of these individuals who have lined up for the various positions. So the EC officials will be seeking to sort out these 18 ballot boxes, so to enable them count which of the various candidates that will be tops of the processes. But then what is interesting is that we have 1,000 and over, delegates voting for the women organizer. And so while the sorting out is ongoing, and then you find your candidates, being getting more of the papers in their favor. Once you get a little over 500, you should be thinking that you are in comfortable lead.
So I'm sure you can read which position EC officials have put on that table. I see deputy women organizers, 2 ballot boxes, A and B. Remember, when they were voting, EC said they were grouping them into 2. So Group A had about 11 regions, and Group B had 5 regions: Ashanti, Greater Accra, I think we had Western North, and I think Central, and all the others were in Group A. And so you would notice that we have Group A, Group B. So those who voted for the women organizers or deputy women organizers, either Group A or Group B, they brought them together to one location. At this stage, EC officials will invite agents. The agents will observe the breaking of the seals. Even though they all voted at one location, everybody was watching, the normal thing is for the seals to be there. That means nobody will tamper with the ballot box by dropping something in. You can see Broja Jemfi standing there making calls, if my sight is good. And he's already in white. I don't know what that signifies, but there he is waiting or receiving a call. And we can only wait to see how or which one, let me put it this way, EC will be looking at first. So AB on the 2 tables. After that, they will go to the youth organizers and the deputies. The policemen are positioning themselves very well. There's no agitation inside the hall. Very peaceful, and I can imagine what is going through the minds of the candidates, as far as delegates who have pledged to be the spokespersons for these candidates or the campaign managers for these candidates. If their candidates win, they have a story to tell tomorrow. If they lose, they may go home, go through their notes, and think of coming back again if they have that wish. So this is Wezo TV. We are bringing you live coverage of the ongoing NDC's Youth and Women Conference here at the University of Cape Coast. And this is also live on TV XYZ, National Democratic Congress, National Executive Election, Deputy Women Organizers, and same for that ballot box. So AB, and soon the EC officials will do the sorting. Let me also remind those who have just joined us that the exercise has been generally peaceful, but for an incident which nearly turned the whole thing upside down, because many people would have thought that it was unnecessary for those people to clash over issues that could have been resolved amicably. But since that incident, the process has been very smooth. Again, there was some little confusion that stalled the process, because the delegates whose name were not on the list had raised issues because they thought it was unfair for them to be excluded. I think there are 10 executives or so. We had issues about injunctions and so on and so forth. We congratulate the local and then the national election organizers or the committee in charge of the elections for managing the process. I see Kofi Adam seated there, happy, because at a point when many people were not too sure if the youth organizer position in terms of the elections will be suspended, they were wondering at what time the party will find time to do that before they go for the elections of the national executives and other positions at the Accra Sports Stadium next weekend. But thankfully they were able to resolve it amicably. All the candidates were called, they engaged them. We had feedback through the organizers that everything has been resolved. And the truth to that fact is that after then we didn't really record any confusion or anything that would have suggested that one faction is still not happy. We understand that there are still few issues at the constituency level and the party is handling them, but because they were insignificant in terms of the numbers and how they would have marred or changed figures as far as the youth and the women organizers are concerned, they have not been included among the delegates who have taken part in this election. So far we are gradually wrapping up, and soon the place will see a different atmosphere where people will be jubilating, others may be living quietly, but we know that the party has adjusted itself well to cater for any fallout. The fallout's likely to be people who may be bitter losers, and once they are bitter losers, they make all kinds of wild allegations. But I believe that the party, knowing very well the implication of bringing all hands on deck, will try as much as possible to resolve such issues and bring those who may have lost into the fold of the party's organizational structure to look at the way forward. Randy.
All right, so it's been a long day. I mean, 26 minutes after the hour, 11. So we gradually crossing over to the next day, hopefully. It's been a very long day, tiring day, of course. We started our journey from 3 a.m. But of course, all in short, I want to say, like you said, relatively it has been very peaceful, in exception of the few misunderstandings here and there that almost marred the beauty of the whole process. But just after that, the process began, and where we have gotten to, it has been great. I want to say a big ups to the organizers. But you see, Eric, I was saying this, if this had happened earlier in the day, this election would have been completed way back, because you look at the time frame when the misunderstanding popped up, the issues, the challenges here and there, till now, this would have been ended way back. So this should actually send a signal to delegates and then the candidates as well going forward, that if it is 8 a.m., it should be 8 a.m. If it is going to be 9, it should be 9. Look at it. We got here very early. The MC kept announcing, delegates take your seat, candidates take your seat, come into the room, let's give you the opportunity so you can speak to the gathering. They were not here. Up until somewhere around midday, that was when we started seeing people trooping in gradually, and I mean it took so much time. But well, the day has already been spent. Let's see. The most important thing is that the NDC should definitely get that competent person to represent them or to lead the youth wing, as well as get a competent person that will lead the women's wing as well, because they have a big task ahead of them in 2024, and that is to, I mean, rally and reclaim power from the NPP. You know, we spoke to a few people earlier. They made mention of the fact that the current economic hardship has made a lot of things very, very hard for them, and the only alternative they have now is the NDC. So this is actually a curtain raiser into 2024. Let's see who comes out victorious in this election.
So we are going to stay with you from now till EC officials begin counting the ballots, and that will lead to the declaration of the results. And at this point we'll enter the conference room, and then we'll share some responses from those who may be smiling away, or those who may be sad because the expectations were not met. So we'll be there to bring you our conversations with the delegates, with the victors, with those who must have lost. And at this stage, Wisdom will tell you more about that, but you can see that they've begun to organize that area very well. A lot of people want to look at how the sorting will be done. They want to see at first hand who is winning, and so you notice that many people are pushing gradually towards the cordoned off area. That's the mark where the ballot papers are. I see a lot of people in red berets. I get the indication that many of those in red berets were people who were openly campaigning for Broja Jemfi, and then those who were in caps were delegates who were openly canvassing for votes for Pablo, that's George Opare, Addo. And if you look at the way they are all gathered, trying to catch a glimpse at every move that is taking place at the podium, you would notice that even those, all of them believe that their candidates would win, they are not too sure, not until the EC officially declares the result. So this is a live coverage of NDC's 10th National Youth and Women Conference, DAP 2022. Their theme was very simple, that they are putting together all their resources, I'm trying to paraphrase, and then unite the party for a convincing victory in 2022. Wisdom, what observations have you also made? I've seen an envelope being pulled out. Can you tell us more?
Well, you mentioned 2022, but actually 2024, where we're here. Yes, but then with regards to what's currently ongoing, this is the point where every single person, whether delegate or polling station agent or the aspirant themselves, at this particular stage, they don't want to leave a single stone unturned, because this is a point where if you do a little mistake, well, it can take you by surprise, because when counting is done and sorting out is ongoing, and then you don't pay critical attention, then you may have yourself to blame. So if you see the anxiety written on the faces of all of these persons, it tells you how critical this moment is for them. But to the NDC, I'm sure this is very, very important, because going into 2024, a party that has been in opposition for 8 good years, coming out of this contest tells them that, look, we must come out well nurtured, well organized, well positioned, such that the contest ahead of them in 2024 will not be a very, very difficult one. And so they want to fight a good and difficult battle here, so that when they get to 2024, it becomes a walkover for them. And so that is why you see the keen interest in this particular contest, especially when Ghanaians are hoping and tipping the NDC as the next government in waiting. And so if I am a part of the government in waiting, it tells me that I have to do everything possible such that when my party is in power, I get a portion where, or I get a part where it can help fit well. And again, this particular contest was very necessary. When confrontations began and people were thinking, why don't they postpone the contest and just hold the women's elections? Because after all, if the youth conference is delaying and is doing the whole process, why not just go ahead and they hold the women's conference and then maybe slate this for a later date? But the question then again is the timetable for the NDC is very tight, very, very compressed. And so when are they going to create that space to hold an election that will be as a result of a rain check? And so it didn't happen. Now, this is very important because the NDC is looking at selecting or electing a candidate who can mobilize the masses of the youth we have in Ghana. Because mind you, it's not only NDC youth who are going to be voting in 2024. There are also going to be all the other party supporters or sympathizers who are also going to vote in 2024 besides these NDC youth. And so if they are electing somebody today, they are looking at who can be that person who can bring along every individual from all the 16 regions of the country. And again, it's the same for the women. You hear them say, oh, we want a unifier, we want somebody who is focused, we want somebody who is not divided in terms of attention and all of that and focused to a particular cause. And so it becomes very important for this particular election today as we are witnessing. Many would have thought that, oh, if it was supposed to have been started around 10 a.m. and we are here today, why don't we go home? But then just look around, a number of people are still here waiting to have a feel of how the final, declaration will be. But for me, what is important is it is not about today's victory. It is about 2024 for the NDC. How does the NDC come out of this contest? Broja Jemfi, Opare Addo. You look at the altercation, the tension that was existing between them, Margaret Ansai as well as Hannah Bisu, Dr. Louisa Hannah Bisu. How does that pan out?
So the enthusiasm is building, and so we'll just allow you to just listen to the sounds from the conference room. Occasionally you may hear people singing here and there, one or two announcements which will be passing through, and then as I told you, once you hear our voices, soon you'll be seeing us inside the conference room. But for now, we'll occasionally come to your bedroom and then whisper into your ears what we can confidently tell you we know is happening here. So keep watching and listen to our music at the background just to soothe your ears while you relax in your home.
We have a missing Ghana card here that bears the name Kweku Anso. Kweku Anso. If you are here, please. Another Ghana card. Another missing Ghana card. Selena Asuka.
So at the moment you can see that lots of policemen are moving to that arena because I saw a gentleman in t-shirt who was following something that looked like a ballot box. The place is actually calm, but it looks like an individual wants to create a scene. I've seen a lot of security men around, the volunteers by the party, and of course some policemen have come around. They've pushed the gentleman out of the area. There's an announcement. Let's listen. Before the council starts, we will invite the agents to come and witness the council. So please, Electoral Commission, you are not ready yet. 1 minute. Okay, go on. Who? Baba Jamal was making an announcement. It looks like they are ready to begin the sorting. So they made an announcement for agents to go upstage to observe the process. The parties organizing committee and the EC officials want to clear. And once that is sorted, we should be witnessing what the delegates and their candidates will be waiting for. We want the agent for Broja Jemfi, agent 1. Where is he? Who is the agent for Broja Jemfi? Okay. Come and stand here. Hey, come and stand here. Mata, hey, Mata, please, we are finished. Me pacho. Okay, Mr. Mate. This is the stage where you see tension building up again. Always there will be people who will be suspicious, whose actions may want to suggest that there is something really going on wrong. Volunteers are actively monitoring every movement, well positioned. The police are down, the party volunteers are up with some few policemen. I've seen a police officer holding a camera, obviously to observe, because normally when things go wrong, people pile pressure on the police to ensure investigations are very thorough. So
Deputy National Youth Organizer, agents.
I can see lawyer Eduji Tamaklo upstage. I don't know whether he's an observer or he's an agent.
For the deputy youth organizer, we need agent for Osman Abdullahi Ayariga. Where is he? Where is he? He's come here. Are you here? One. How many? We need one. One agent. So one person should go. And then we need agent for Ruth Della Sedo. Come and stand there. Go here. Go. We need agent for Bright Honu. Where is Bright? Agent for Bright, come here. Agent for Bright, please come here. Are you agent for Bright? There's only one. One agent at a time. Come. Then agent for Suleiman Abdul Karim. Suleimana, one agent. One. Abdul. Then one agent for Muhammad Sadiq. Agent for Muhammad Sadiq, one. They are two here. Please, one. One agent for Muhammad Sadiq. One agent for Muhammad Sadiq. No. One agent for Muhammad Sadiq. One should go. Go. And then another agent for Karibu Ahmed. Karibu Ahmed. No agent for Karibu Ahmed. Kabiru Ahmed. Agent. One. Go and stand there. Then Eric Daxon. Eric Daxon, agent for Eric. Come. Yes, Eric is number 7. Number 8, Frederick Owusu Asare. Pedilon, sorry. And then number 9, Obed. Pedilon, somebody has come. Are you for Pedilon? Somebody is there. And then Obed candidate. Obed, go there. And then Jude Saki. Hey. Jude Sekle. Jude, where is the agent for Jude? Okay, we are done. Let us move on.
Can I have the agent for Pablo? One agent for Pablo. Then agent for Pablo. Agent for Broja Jemfi. Agent for Broja JV. What's your name? What? Asowu Kofi William. What's your name? Pablo. What's your name? Daniel Mintamwa. Okay, please come to table 1.
The third one, the woman.
So all the agents are now upstage. As we tried to explain earlier, they are only going to be there as observers, monitor the process, so that after the count, they can endorse the forms that whatever EC has done is free and fair.
Tega, agents. Abigail's agents, deputy. Okay, come here. Jifa's agents. Jifa. JC Adams. Okay. Hajia Alijatu Sulemana. Agents. Hajia. Bachomambra Surumamai. Up. Women's organizer. Yes. Women's organizer, agents. Margaret agents. Come to the table. Dr. Hannah Louisa Bisu, agents. Join us here. Hannah Bisu, agents for women's organizer. I can see the candidates. You can nominate someone to come and represent you. Hannah Bisu. This is the team. Okay, thank you. So you can stand here.
You are there. No. Yeah, okay.
We are in there. All agents set. We don't know which of the ballot boxes will be opened first, but I believe just as EC wants to fast track the process, they may do everything simultaneously, and while they are doing so, our cameras will be moving around, and by our own way of guessing who may be leading, we can tell you from how people will react. So normally an agent will be up there when they are doing the sorting. That agent, if that agent is overly happy, you would notice that it will show on the face. If somebody's ballot sorted appear to be more, if you can just tell from the volume, if that word is appropriate for this description on the table. And then normally at that stage, when they are very confident that their candidate has won, they don't care about the margin. They give signals to observers, in this case delegates, who are waiting to hear the results, and you see people screaming, dancing, pouring of powder, singing of songs and jama here and there, to signify victory. So this is the emotional stage of all what we have been observing since morning. So the sorting has begun. Our cameras cannot go very far because we've been barred from going directly to go and then peep through the ballot papers. But they'll be doing the sorting, and we will tell maybe before the EC gets ready to announce results who is winning. So we'll play some instrumentals for you to relax and keep observing just as we are, and from time to time we'll come and update you with any information that is relevant at this stage. This is TV XYZ. This is Ways TV. We are at the University of Cape Coast. main auditorium where NDC conference is about wrapping up. counting of ballots has started. I can tell you that for some of the positions, and there's been a lot of anxiety here. Everybody is quiet. The elections are very, and so as a very big candidate will win, we can catch with you inside the main conference of quietness. As I was sharing with you, the process is still ongoing. A lot of people are struggling to catch a glimpse at the counting process, and the objective of those who are at the front, raising their necks and trying to observe what is going on, is to at least look at the position of the thumb-printed ballot paper, and because for some of the positions there are only 2 candidates, if they notice that it's at the top, they can identify which candidate, and if it is at the bottom, they can conclude which candidate is receiving those number of ballots. But it's very difficult observing from the theming party delegates who have climbed tables, some on chairs, some hanging on any object that can raise their height, at least to be able to look at what is happening. But for most of you watching television, our cameras are doing some magic, so you can have an idea from what you are watching on your screens. But very soon, the place will be lit up with jubilation and surprise screams when people really can't believe what the delegates have done. So this is the last stage of what we have been here waiting for. They have voted, the ballots have been sorted, the counting is ongoing, and it's being done simultaneously, which means that as soon as all the figures are put together, the EC officials now will come forward to declare the results. After the declaration of the results, according to the organizers, the victors will be given the opportunity to make brief statements. After those brief statements, I'm sure the local organizing committee or those who are in charge of this election will wrap up, and then we speak to a few people for their reactions, and we also call it a day. So stay with us. There's a lot we are going to share with you here. My colleague Randy is also standing at a different location here in the conference room, and so Randy will also tell you what he's observing so far. Randy, take it over from me.
All right, so thank you so much, my senior colleague Eric Anyanyo. Of course, the tension here in the main auditorium seems so high, most especially with regards to the aspirants or the candidates themselves here. I mean, from the look of things, they look quite tense. But of course, the collation or the counting has begun. We're still trying so hard to get the exact ones that are being counted so far, and then we can update our viewers on that particular one. But the delegates are also in high anticipation for the results as far as the elections are concerned. But mind you, we have 2 main contests that took place today as far as this election is concerned. We had one for the women's wing, that's for the women organizer, as well as her deputies. So you can hear some cheers. I don't really know what exactly this delegates have seen, but of course we'll try and get a bit closer and tell you more. We'll get you the gist. So you can hear a shout of Pablo being mentioned, the name Pablo being mentioned. You can hear from the background Pablo's name is being mentioned. Chants of Pablo is here. It's really, really sounding so here in the auditorium. What does that mean? We'll still wait on the stage to officially declare. Whilst we also try as much as possible to get the direct figures from the EC as well.
So thank you very much, Randy. From where I am, I can tell you that it appears the youth wing of the party are very much interested in who will become their leader. And so I see red berets and green and white and of course red caps. I've told you earlier, those in red berets appear to be reflecting the image of the candidate of their choice, that is Broja Jemfi, and those who are in red, green, white or whatever caps are also here, and from their actions and of course from the inscriptions on the caps they are wearing, look as if they are delegates who openly support George Opare Addo. And many of them at this stage are waiting. They are getting signals from the days, and we don't know who is winning, but it looks like they are getting signals, conflicting signals. Once a while you see Pablo supporters screaming, once a while you see the other side, Broja supporters trying to jubilate, but we don't know who is actually winning. But the excitement in the conference hall is building up. It's gradually building up, and we don't know. Normally, that's what happens. And so you can hear the noise at the background. You can hear the noise at the background that a lot of people are waiting to see who will be declared winner of this election. I'm hearing Pablo, but others are telling them that it is too early, it could be too close to call, they may be giving them false hope, or indeed taking the lead. That is the scene here. And so we are waiting. Both sides are screaming, I'm talking about the youth organizer of the NEC. I see supporters of Broja Jemfi screaming. I see supporters of Pablo also making noise. So that's the noise. Listen to the ambience here. So that is the atmosphere here. It is gradually charging. And as we told you a few minutes ago, that once the ballot papers are being counted, the agents will be giving signals to delegates or people who can catch their eye. Sometimes they sneak information out to suggest that they are winning. Randy, it sounds interesting, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, so from the background and getting closer to a few of the people who keep shouting Pablo, they tell me they were a bit closer to the main, where the parameter is, and from what they can see, it signifies Pablo might be in the lead. But we tried getting into it, but I mean the officials wouldn't allow us to get closer to where the counting is ongoing. But generally, the atmosphere here seems to mean that Pablo could be in the lead as far as this election is concerned. So, that's the chants, that's the cheers, the songs that we keep hearing from all these delegates gathered here.
Normally, this is what happens. Maybe they've counted somebody's ballot papers, and the person is recording a certain number of votes that may be translated into the larger percentage as far as the totals are concerned. But at this stage, you see one group celebrating, and Randy is trying to get closer and pick the noise and what is happening in the hall. But as we speak, the podium is very quiet. Security men are alert, sorting and counting, still ongoing, and very soon the picture will become very clear as to who has won the elections. This is TVXYZ, this is Wezo TV, and of course we are bringing this you live from Wezo TV's platforms here at the University of Cape Coast main auditorium at the new site where the elections are taking place.
All right, so I went a bit closer to another group of people who keep shouting Ayariga, Ayariga. So Osman Ayariga, who also contested as one of the deputy aspirants, he, according to the chairs,
so at the moment that Osman Beba, so it looks like it's becoming interesting.
Exactly.
So they may be wearing Pablo hats, or they may be wearing what reflects Brocha Demfi, but all of them have interest, isn't it? Let's listen to the sound at the background.
So the cheers seem so loud, but it looks like we are a bit torn between two.
We are being misled. So let us even stop
because the initial stages, it was Pablo.
Their psychological means they adopt
to this particular thing.
It so happens. So let us not even follow them.
A different group is also
yes,
here.
Another group is warming up, and that is the excitement. But we can tell you on authority that the conference room looks very, very peaceful. Don't forget that various people are contesting various positions, and so you may see somebody jubilating, but because we have not heard an official declaration from the Electoral Commission, it would appear as if some people are jubilating, but we don't know which of the ballot papers or the positions that the agents may want to signal their members or their supporters that we are in the lead or we are not doing badly. So we'll just keep quiet briefly so that you observe proceedings here from the conference room. And after a while, when we try to pick information closer to the podium, we'll come back to you. So keep watching Wezo TV. seen a lot of people going around Osman Ayarega. I don't know what it means, but he's full of smiles. But he himself is also not sure of what is happening. And I see a lot of people going around him, and it's a jubilation of. I've seen him just waving at anybody. Anybody he sees, he's waving at the person. But we cannot tell you anything on authority at this moment.
Too much tension, Eric. I mean, the initial people who were screaming, shouting, all of a sudden have gone quiet.
Yes.
Then a different group with the Ayariga t-shirt, they continue. Then they are on the low key now. A different level is also coming in now. Now, you told me earlier that Broja has his people with the red beret on. Now, this level towards behind us, they look as if they are the people in the red beret, which signifies, if we should go by that notion that he has his people with the red beret, they are also celebrating. So the whole thing looks quite interesting here in the auditorium.
Yeah, so I can tell you that Osman Ayarega, if our cameras will help us, Osman Ayarega is being hard, is so happy. And so let me see if I can speak to Osman Ayarega briefly. Mr. Ayarega, the results have not been.
Well, I got information that they're comfortable with.
Say comfortable with.
The official declaration.
So I just spoke briefly to.
That's Osman.
I just spoke briefly to Osman Ayarega, who says the result has been declared. He's convinced that he has won and is going to be one of the deputy youth organizers, national youth organizers. While we are waiting for the electoral committee, what is going through you now as we speak, as your supporters continue to give you smile?
Earlier in the afternoon, one journalist asked me that there's this popular phrase that fear delegates, and I told them that that statement was made by an MPP person, so we have to fear MPP delegates. But under the NDC, we have very honest delegates who reward hard work, who reward competence, who reward integrity. So I'm not surprised that the NDC has rewarded hard work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, because we don't have an official result from the NDC. And keep smiling, but don't be if there's So that was Osman Ayarega and his team. They are walking away. Others are waiting to hear their verdict. Lots of movement in the conference room here, and just like us who are here to observe and report, we are equally very anxious and waiting to see what will be happening. You went out. What did you observe?
I went closer to another angle. If the camera can get closer to that area, where I saw people clamored in Dr. Louisa Hannah Bisu's shirt. And when I inquired from a few of them who were shouting and cheering, they said Hannah is in a comfortable lead.
Well, so at this stage, I can tell you that it's still uncertainty.
Yeah.
People are just screaming, and all of a sudden they all keep quiet. It appears it's a psychological strategy they have adopted, just to lift the spirits of colleagues, to make it look like everything is okay. And so maybe we may not follow them too much. Yes, when they are doing their own things, we will try to capture and hear them. But we can say the official results will be declared by the Electoral Commission. Is there any scene around again?
Well, I think towards the far end of the auditorium, another group of people still in a jubilant mood, Eric.
Right, so we'll leave it there, and then I can tell you that Ways of TV will continue to be with you from this stage till the EC declares the result, and those who won will give formal comment or address to delegates. And so just relax, don't shut down your TV, don't blink your eye, because the scenes from the conference room will continue to excite you. There'll be surprises, emotional reactions, and so on and so forth. So just relax, and we are around, and be hearing that soon. We hear Broja Jeffy's team also shouting. So it's like a cat and mouse game, isn't it?
I tell you for a fact, this is a cat race.
I can't stand it. I am not a candidate.
I can just imagine what's going through the mind of the various candidates.
And this is the stage where the medical team
is needed. So I think the guys on the stage keep giving some signals to the people. But you see, this is what happens when you want to play the double-edged sword. You pick from here, pick from here. Because what I gathered from the grounds with regards to Broja and Pablo, Greater Accra was actually buying for Broja. When I came in earlier, I saw the Greater Accra people who were wearing the green shirt shouting Pablo, Pablo, Pablo. So the question now remains, what really went into it? What happened? Is there a change? Or what will be the outcome of this whole thing? So we'll still wait and see and get the authentic result from the official, Electoral Commission, so they can give us the official results.
Yes, so we'll be waiting for the Electoral Commission. I can tell you that I've seen one of the female candidates who is also jubilating. Apparently, they are finished counting the ballot on their side. They may know who is leading. This is the live coverage of NDC's Youth and Women's Conference. They have just elected their women leaders and youth leaders. At this moment, the ballot papers have been sorted and counted. At this moment, some of the results have been known, but not officially declared. And so we can only wait for the Electoral Commission. We can also tell you that we are not taking the reaction of people who are observing to reflect what we think the EC officials and the agents know. We can only assume that there are signals that their candidates are doing well. And so we'll keep waiting till the last ballot is counted.
hold on. Let's quickly. Just try and speak to us. Well, so I am currently standing with Madam Felicia Tega. Well, from all indications, she's looking cheerful. I'm going to find out from her what really these smiles mean to her. Exactly. All right, you say you want to walk towards this direction. Let's keep walking whilst we have a beautiful conversation.
Madam,
I really appreciate that. If you can just join us whilst we walk. And you can tell me why you look so cheerful, why you are all gloomy and smiling. Tell me, what is it? What did you hear? What have you seen?
Has won. My boy is down. My boy is walking for you. And I I'm grateful because I'm so much happy that after the election, no campaign.
The EC hasn't declared. What makes you believe that you have won your position?
So, as I said, conflicting reactions, uncertainties, everybody is jubilating here, and we can continue to wait
congratulations
to see who will be officially
but before you take leave of us, what do you really make of this particular election process? Was it a tougher one for you?
Youth and Women's Conference. Wisdom, Hedejome, is it? Wisdom. What have you also been observing?
How did it come? Where from
I
the
think
support?
it's been a very fruitful program so far. Now,
but let's know, your followers are looking at you. They are watching you. How did it happen?
The support from places I never expected to come from. Different places I never expected support to come from. That is why it came.
Indeed, if the EC should declare you officially, what will be your message to the other candidates that contested the same slot?
We just need two people. They can take it next time.
Great, I'm grateful. Enjoy yourself. We are still waiting for the EC to officially declare. We'll get back and speak to you. So there you heard Felicia Tega, the first timer who actually contested. Well, according to her, she believes that she has won this particular contest as far as the deputy women organizer slot is concerned. Remember, she contested against Hajia Alida Sulemana, Abigail Akwabia, Elo Mensa, Jesse Adams as well. So it was 4 persons in that particular contest. Eric, I think we would have to reach
That principle,
counting is still ongoing. There is a lot of confusion inside the conference room because almost supporters of all the candidates are claiming their candidates are in the lead. But as you can see from the screen, the sorting has been done and the counting has started. EC officials are keenly monitoring what is going on. The agents are there observing, and pretty shortly this whole thing should be over. A while ago we saw Osman Ayarega supporters hailing him. We carried him almost shoulder high, and I spoke to Osman Ayarega himself, who said he's confident because it's almost declared, according to those who were observing the process for him, that he has won. The screen is suggesting that the youth leadership of the party are also waiting anxiously to hear what the results will be saying. I've seen lots of jubilation, but we cannot confirm the results now until the Electoral Commission officially announces them. But there's smiles and happiness, screams, shouting, singing from delegates inside the hall on the slightest signal that their candidate is either in a lead or a comfortable lead, or perhaps has swept most of the votes convincingly for them to go ahead to have fun. So that's the scene inside the conference room, and this is what we can share with you, and obviously it's a reflection of every electoral process. So we continue to wait for the Electoral Commission to declare the results. Supporters of what appears to be Broja Jemfi running out of the room, but we can tell you that we don't know really what is happening until there is every indication that he has won. We've told you earlier that it's been in and out, on and off, uncertainties, but we are still monitoring. This is Wazo TV, and it's a live coverage of the ongoing elections for the youth and women leaders of the NDC. And just shortly, so a lot of people have come to where we are, and I'll be crossing over shortly to my colleagues, Wisdom and Randy, who are inside the conference room. And you can tell from my background if you are watching TV at home, that a lot of people are excited, and we will soon be sharing the results when the EC officials take the podium or grab the microphone. But I can tell you that the body language is still very confusing. You don't know what really is happening. What we are hearing is one of them has won. I'm even scared of sharing it because I'm equally not too sure whether I can follow the jubilation. I am also watching from those gathered in the conference room if that reflects what the EC will officially declare. And today we have seen the election of the women organizer, that's the women organizer. Two deputies will emerge from the 4 candidates who are contesting. We will see the election of a youth organizer, and of the 10 contestants for the deputy organizer position, 2 will emerge. I've told you, Osman Ayariga has already told me that his agents have told him of the lot that were counted, he will be declared as winner of the 2, and that is also waiting. So let's keep monitoring. So exciting, full of funds. Interesting. It's almost 1:05. So this is Sunday morning at the University of Cape Coast, and I'm sure many of you watching Ways or TV and those following us on TV XYZ are equally confused. There are dresses some of them are wearing, which gives you an indication of who they are supporting. But occasionally you see them running around, and then it will turn, another group will be running around, and we don't know what really will be the final declaration. So let's listen to what is happening inside. So if you look at the sheet that I can see now, George Opare seems to have had 533 votes, Roger Jemfi 508. That's what I could quickly read from that sheet that the EC official was filling. And so even before the declaration, I can tell you on authority that I've seen some figures, and what I saw, George Opare seems to have been able to pull 533 votes, and Roger Jemfi 508. That's what I have seen EC officials write or declare on the result sheet. And so the jubilation and the confusion is over, and I can understand why at a point it appeared as if supporters of Roger Jemfi were screaming and dancing around, and later it appeared it was that of Pablo supporters, that George Opare, and it kept on turning back and forth. And what I have just seen on the screen suggests that George Opare has been retained. But these are provisional figures I am reporting from where I sit. We can only wait on the Electoral Commission to declare the official results. There are other seats that have been contested. Deputy youth organizers of the party, we are here to wait. I'll be taking you to the main hall where lots of supporters are singing and hailing George Opare, aka Pablo, for winning or retaining the seat. So that's what we see on the screen. George Opare, Pablo 533 votes, Ernest Yao, Roger Jemfi 508 votes. Compared to the results in 2018, it will look like the race was much more competitive this time compared to 3 or 4 years ago, where George Opare almost beat Roger Jemfi by more than 200 votes. So the National Youth Organizer has been retained, but in as much as we know the figures, what we do officially is to wait for the Electoral Commission to declare the results. And so the National Women's Organizer position has also been declared. Dr. Louisa Hanabisu has been retained. She had 433 votes. Margaret Anseh, aka Mago, had 362 votes. And so the party has retained the National Youth Organizer, and they have also retained the National Women's Organizer and the National Youth Organizer. Both of them have been retained. When we get the results of the Deputy National Organizer positions, we shall share them. So we'll just share them again on the screen. So those are the results. Abigail Elon Mensah 348 and Felicia Jufa Tega 260. So these two will become the Deputy National Women's Organizers of the National Democratic Congress. It's about 1:15 a.m. and when we get the other results, we'll call it wraps. We'll bring you the closing commentaries or addresses by candidates elect and the Electoral Commission's official announcement, and then the organizers of this elections will wrap up, and we call it a day. the figures again. George Opare 533, Ernest Yao Broja Jemfi 508. And so those are the results that have been declared. George Opare in the shots, swarmed by supporters and being led to the conference room. I can imagine how he feels at the moment, and obviously the youth of the NDC have demonstrated their appreciation of his campaign and an endorsement of what he has done for the party since his election, and will go on record as a youth leader who has broken the one-term result that we appear to have seen since Haruna Idrisu's days. We shared some history with you about the youth leadership elections, and we said apart from E.T. Mensah and Haruna Idrisu, all the others had one term. So Haruna Idrisu handed over to Sadiq, who had only one term. He handed over to Ludwig Mloje, who had only one term. Ludwig Mloje was beaten by Sadiq, who also served one term. George Opare won in 2018, and George Opare has been retained. That's confidence reposed in him, which means a lot. And of course, if you look at how close the results were compared to 2018, we obviously would have to bring the hands of all those we would need to help to galvanize more support among the youth to help the NDC in the 2024 election. So you see a confident George Opare at the podium, exchanging pleasantries, looking different from what I saw about 3 hours ago when we made an attempt to speak to him, and he said he was not speaking to the media for now till the results are declared. And soon you'll be hearing his message to delegates to the party and what he resolves to do going forward. Seems to be suggesting that they don't like Sami Jemfi, and that it should go. Well, I'm not too sure of what I'm picking. I'm reading the lips, but let's listen exactly to what they are chanting there. So Dr. Louisa Hanabizu in the shots there, very happy, smiling, and now vindicated by the party's women's wing, an endorsement of her to run a second term. And the EC officials are almost ready, and very soon we'll be going to the conference room to hear the announcements.
Hello. All too soon the elections are over, and two people contested for the position of women organizer. They are Madam Margaret Ansai, Dr. Hannah Louisa Bisiu. Madam Margaret Ansai obtained 362 votes, whilst Dr. Hannah Louisa Bisiu obtained 433 votes. I therefore declare Dr. Hannah Louisa Bisiu as the National Women Organizer for the National Democratic Congress. Again, for the position of Deputy Women Organizer, we have Madam Abigail Elom Akamba Mensah, who obtained 348 votes, Jifatega 260 votes, Jesse Adams, who also obtained 21 votes. Therefore, Madam Abigail Elom Akamba Mensah and Jifatega have been elected as Deputy Women Organizer. Now for the position of Youth Organizer. Two people contested for the position of Youth Organizer. They are Mr. Broja Jemfi and George Opare Addo. Broja Jemfi obtained 508 votes, whilst George Opare Addo obtained 533 votes. I therefore declare George Opare Addo as a Youth Organizer. It's okay. Lastly, 10 people contested for the position of Deputy Youth Organizer. They are Osman Abdullahi Ayariga, who obtained 373 votes, Ruth Della Sedot 313 votes, Bright Nudokpo Honuhanu 6 votes, Suleiman Abdul Karim 31 votes, Muhammad Sadiq Gombila 51 votes, Karibu Ahmed 22 votes, Eric Datsin 150 votes, Pendilok Owusu Asari 20 votes, Obed Opintan 10 votes, whilst lastly Jude Saki obtained 65 votes. Therefore, for the power please, are we listening? I said Osman Abdullahi Ayariga and Ruth Della Sedo had the two highest votes.
Therefore, by the power vested in me by the Electoral Commission, I declare Osman Abdullahi Ayariga and Ruth Della Sedo as the deputy youth organizers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to the Electoral Commission.
So the Electoral Commission has officially declared the results. Osman Abdullahi Ayariga.
All right, so there you have a declaration by the EC boss. All too soon,
the last Sedong had 313 votes. So these are the Deputy National Youth Organizers of the NDC. And so finally, the NDC has decided. So 533 George Opare and Ernest Yaogoja Jemfi 508. And George Opare was declared. Dr. Hannah Louisa Bisu 433 votes. Margaret Ansay Omako 362 votes. And Dr. Hannah Louisa Bisu has been declared winner of this election. Abigail Elom Mensa 348 votes. Felicia Jifa Tega 260 votes. These are the Deputy National Women Organizers of the NDC. So the election is now over. The EC has declared the results. The youth wing of the party is energized. They are happy, jubilation over. And I can imagine how this will translate into activism by the party, especially at the grassroots level. We are wrapping up and we're calling it a day. We thank all of you for staying with TVXYZ, for staying with Wizard TV. Thanks to the Wizard TV entire team for the solid, wonderful production.